You might recognize our next guest. He is a well-known news anchor who's been with CNN since 2006. Don Lemon now leads the network's primetime news coverage on weeknights, and he has a new topical book hitting shelves last week called This Is the Fire: What I Say to My Friends About Racism. Joining me now is anchor and author Don Lemon. Don, it's an honor to have you with me this morning. Thank you for joining.
Kristen, good morning. I need that big cup of coffee you have. It's early for me. I'm not off work until midnight. I need that so bad.
We can get one for you. Don't you worry. By the time your show starts this evening, Don, what a wonderful book that hit the shelves just last week. It's my understanding it's a combination of your own reporting as well as your own lived experiences. What do you say to your friends about racism today?
Well, it depends on what usually I try to have my friends engage with me first. Maybe there's a little bit of goading, but what mostly I tell my friends, and it depends on who they are. And quite frankly, Kristen, it depends on their ethnicity, right? How familiar they are with culture and what's happening in the news around them. But usually I just tell them to listen, starting from a place of being open and listening is probably the best initial thing to do. The first step is listening. And then once we start to talk about these issues and to come to some sort of consensus and understanding, then one must do the work afterwards. You have to do the work. And so that's what I tell my friends about racism. But the main thing, long answer, but very quickly I'll tell you, is to get a friend who doesn't look like you. That's it. Very simple.
That is really good advice. And Don, I know that this book explores your own family history. For those reading it and listening to your story, what did you learn from experiencing your family history, learning about your own family history? And what do you think readers will take away from that?
Everyone wants to know where they come from. Everyone wants to feel like they belong or they have some connection to the world. Whether it's America or just anywhere, you want to have some connection. So exploring my family history gave me not only a sense of knowledge, but a sense of pride that my history in America, or my history on this earth, goes back beyond just slavery in America, that it was tied to another continent, and that I had a long history there of people who had accomplished things. But even if it was just America, there is a certain pride in being some of the first people on this continent after the Native American and helping to build it. And there's no shame in helping to help build this country and to have helped build it for free. And so that gave me a sense of pride as an American, but also just as a human being on the planet. So I would suggest that everyone gets their ancestry done.
You know, one of the most touching phrases that I heard during Black History Month was that Black history is American history. And I think that is the right way to look at it as we continue to have these conversations and listen going forward. Don, certainly over the past 2 weeks, we've seen the Black and Asian American community stand together in solidarity in the wake of those horrific spa shootings that we saw in Atlanta just about a week and a half ago. Has that given you hope that we are making progress, that communities are standing together? And what did that represent to you?
Well, first of all, let me just say that I'm so sorry for my brothers and sisters of Asian descent, of all Asian people around this country, that they have to deal with this terrible plight of bigotry and racism and violence. It's awful, but it does give me hope because we in the sense that we can all come together. Because when we all band together, and there's, as they say, it's a cliche, but it's true, there's safety in numbers. And we have a bigger and better, we're more powerful when we stand together. Just because there are marginalized people in this country who are being discriminated against, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't stand together. Actually, it means that we should stand together to fight the bigotry and racism. And I believe we're in the last throes of that. I don't think it's going to be over in 5 years or 10 years. But I do think soon, once we become or get close to a minority-majority planet, starting in 2040 to 2045, I think that demographics will take care of that, and there'll be more minorities in this country, and we will be able to stand up in even greater numbers against discrimination.
I hope, yes, that as a society, we can all come together. Don, of course, this week we saw another mass deadly shooting, this time in Boulder, Colorado. And I know you in particular had some very strong words about this on one of your shows this week. I do want to play a soundbite for our viewers to listen to.
Every single one of us is just playing the odds at this point. The odds that in a country of 325 million souls, that we won't be the ones who get hit by the next bullets that start flying. We won't be the one that gets that phone call about someone you love who did. But with every deadly shooting in this country, the odds get worse and worse.
Don, incredibly touching comments there. Why are these conversations not getting the attention that they need in Washington and around this country?
I really do think that the hindrance is Washington. The politicians in Washington, they are the hindrance to getting sensible gun legislation. And I hate that term gun control, because no one is trying to control anyone and doing anything. People are proposing sensible legislation. And I think we have to take this out of the political realm. This has nothing to do with ideology. Some people seem to think that, well, the only people who care about gun rights is the right. That's not true. People on the left care about gun rights. Or people on the left are the only people who care about the deaths. That's not true. People on the right do care about that. There's overwhelming support for gun legislation, sensible gun legislation, background checks, and so on and so forth from the majority of American people, both left and right. But it's the politicians in Washington who are trying to stay in control and trying to manipulate the people in the system who are holding that back. And so we have to look at this, take it out of the political realm and look at it in terms of lives and caring for our brothers and sisters and our countrymen. No one wants to see lives lost senselessly, as happened in Boulder, Colorado, or Aurora, Colorado, or at a school shooting in Florida, or at another school shooting in Colorado, or anywhere across this land. We must stop it. The people, just as with racism and bigotry, the people have to come together, band together, and force the politicians, the people who are supposed to be serving the people of this country, force them to get together and make decisions on behalf of the American people.
Too many lives lost, and 18 lives just in the past week and a half. It's been a challenging year. In many ways, it's been a challenging history. Racism continuing to be a major problem in this country, the coronavirus pandemic, the mass shootings that we were just discussing. What advice do you have to Americans when they wake up every morning to start a new day and to try to move forward?
Well, I think we have to wake up and think about each other. And we have to wake up and see the humanity in other people. And Kristen, as I said before, at the very beginning of our conversation, by the way, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Thank you for having it. But what I think that we have to do is we have to get outside of our bubbles, outside of our silos. We can't be so polarized, and we have to get to know people who are not like us. That's really what America is all about. And once you get to know people, then you get to experience their humanity. You see them as human beings and not as other or as left or right or as, oh, well, that is a black person, that is a white person. You see people as human beings and as friends. And once you are in relationships with other people, it's hard for you to discriminate against them, to degrade them. You see and you feel and you love their humanity. So make friends with people who are other than you, and that will take care of the discrimination itself. And that will cause you to act from a place of love rather than a place of fear.
Always should come from a place of love. I couldn't agree more, Don. And I'm sure once this pandemic lifts, you too are excited to get out there, get back on the reporting beat in person. We're so fortunate to have you with us this morning. Everyone check out Don's new book.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Don Lemon, author of This is the Fire, What I Say to My Friends About Racism. He's also the host of CNN Tonight with Don Lemon.